Morning, folks. Give us a second to get synced up and we will get started, okay? How's everybody doing? It's Friday. We made it, right? Been a tough week, right?
Do you hear that?
Okay, I
That's
hear
the
it. Yeah,
sound
let's
of your
see.
new bra.
Why am I getting a bra commercial?
The only
We need to talk. Okay, we're 5x5. Yeah, I was making coffee memes. Thank you. V Prep, congrats on being the first one in the house this morning and winning the bragging rights, okay? I'll jump into the chat here shortly and we'll do shout outs and everything. I want to get straight into it this morning. A lot of stuff to unpack, a lot of intel down below. I apologize for all the links down below, okay? But it's down there. So, are you prepping for the coming World War? You should be. And we're going to talk about that this morning in great detail. So, last night, probably 2:30 in the morning, 2:30ish, I'm out on the deck smoking a Churchill, not weed, guys, not weed. I don't smoke weed. I don't look down on anybody that does, but it was a cigar, okay? And finally, I see the chessboard. I see the moves. Finally, I've caught up to the elites. And this morning, I'm going to make a case for it. I think I know exactly what's going on and what's coming in the near future, okay? And of course, that's World War and some other things, okay? So Poland, again, this intel is down below. They're dealing right now with migrants coming from, I think I'm saying this correctly, Belarus. By the hundreds, they're starting to stack up. It's going to be thousands before long. And they're trying to figure out what to do. The migrants say, we're just trying to get to Germany. Poland has completely stopped them at the border. They're getting ready to be overrun. Their response is to double the size of their army. And I'm going to explain why. American Trucker, been a member for 2 months. Thank you. Let's see here. Should get someone who isn't a prepper but is worried. Absolutely. Thank you for being here, brother, and for the support. So Poland has now announced that they're going to double the size of their army. Their army right now is sitting at 110,000 soldiers. So they want to double it. But folks, this has very little to do with the migrants on the border. Poland has alluded to the fact that they believe Russia is behind this, that Russia is intentionally causing the chaos, and that they fully believe Russia is going to invade Poland, okay? Again, it's not going to matter. Russia has over 1 million soldiers active duty. Poland, again, 110,000. But they're not worried about the migrants. They're worried about Russia. Okay, Russia's being really shady. And let's talk about Russia, okay? This intel is down below as well. Russia invaded the Ukraine in 2014. They want the Ukraine. There's no two ways about it. Russia has this mentality where they are still in their own minds the Soviet Union. Okay, they're trying to put back together at least the land that the Soviet Union lost. When you get down to it, war comes down to resources. It's all about resources. You know, land that you can farm, oil. The U.S. has a bad habit of getting tied up over oil, things of this nature. Russia considers the Ukraine part of its kingdom, if you will, and they want it. And again, they're making no bones about it. They have now amassed close to, estimates are anywhere between 90,000 and 100,000 troops on the Ukrainian border. Tumbleweed, 11B, thank you and welcome to the Blue Coats. I appreciate that. So they have, at least 90,000 soldiers on the border of the Ukraine, okay? They are moving major armor into position on the border of the Ukraine. And also missile systems are being put into place on the border. This is not saber rattling, folks. If you want to saber rattle, you threaten somebody on TV or you send in, a few MiGs or something and you do a flyby right next to the coastline somewhere. They buzz us all the time in Alaska and stuff like this. That's saber rattling, all right? Russia is getting ready to invade. They're going to, I personally believe, they're going after both Poland and the Ukraine to begin with. They're going to fight on multiple fronts. It is winnable for them because, we'll get into the because in a minute, but I think that they could very possibly strike at the same time China strikes. And so let's talk about China. This intel is down below as well, okay? The Chinese are not going to surrender Taiwan. They're not going to let Taiwan become independent. They are not going to let Taiwan become westernized. They are going to keep Taiwan. And if it comes to war, it comes to war. They're fully prepared to do it. China is a hermit kingdom. They do not want Western influence touching their borders. This is why they got involved during Korea. They did not want the United States. They did not want capitalism to fully take over Korea. That's why there are two Koreas now, okay? North Korea is a buffer zone, if you will, for the Chinese. They look at Taiwan as a buffer zone. All right, this is the main reason they want Taiwan. Of course, microchips and all that stuff's involved as well, but the main reason is they do not want it to be westernized, okay? Again, this is not saber rattling. The Chinese are currently building full-scale mock-up ships of the U.S. naval ships that are in the Taiwan Strait. And they are working on their missile targeting systems. They are teaching, their soldiers what to look for on the ships, how to quickly disable the U.S. ships. They're not playing, okay? And this puts both the Philippines and potentially Japan into play. All right, they would be in danger at this point as well. But look, China, they're just waiting on the right time. It's a matter of when. Let me see here. I moved the wrong stack, son. Finally, let's get over to the U.S. I've said countless times here, the United States is not able to win a war in the Taiwan Strait. That is an unwinnable situation. The flank's gone at that point. You got to worry about the flank. You got to worry about the supply line. You don't match up well against China. They're fighting on their home turf, basically. It's unwinnable, okay? If we throw resources into the Taiwan Strait, it's like we're throwing it into a wood chipper. We're going to lose everything we send. And China knows this. I would say this, however. If the United States fights on its home turf here in the continental U.S., it is winnable. And I know China, Russia, strong opponents. I get it. We're not going anywhere here in the United States. I'm just saying. We can't protect our allies right now. Russia, China, they both understand this. They both know that we're weak. We just lost a 20-year war in Afghanistan. We are weak. We botched the exit. We look like we have no clue what we're doing. And they know we're weak. They know we're down, okay? And it's hard for me to predict. I can't pinpoint what day they're going to strike. But if I'm sitting in a room with the Chinese and the Russians, hold on a second, guys. If I'm sitting in a room with the Chinese and the Russians, all right, I'm telling the leaders of those two countries, wintertime is when you strike, or very early spring, as everything is starting to thaw out and when nobody is really expecting it after they're limping off of the cold winter, the dark winter, if you will, okay? I'm going to go a step further here, folks, and I may live to regret this. If I'm wrong, y'all come back to this video in a few years. You can tell me I'm wrong. I'll wear like the aluminum foil hat or something. I'm going to go on record right now, and I'm going to try and predict a black swan event. Normally, those are unpredictable. I think we're going to get caught up in an international war, a global war, whatever you want to call it. I think we are going to deploy, which is a huge mistake, all over the place. And we're going to leave home base undefended, basically. We're going to have the National Guards, men and women here, and us patriots. And I think at this point in time, once we have deployed out and war is on, I think you're going to see the commies try and take the country. It's the most opportune time to do it. They want this country, the communists, the woke crowd, if you will, the indoctrinated youth. They're going to try and take this country at some point. There's no better time to do it than when the military has its hands completely full. And as patriots this morning, you need to understand that. Many of you have asked time and again, when's it coming? I'm ready. When's it coming? It needs to hurry up and get here. I'm telling you, world war is on the way. It's unavoidable. Too many pieces are being moved around. All right, when we start getting into the hardcore gardening, I'm not your guy. Okay, I can grow a few things, but that's not where my expertise is at. Okay, firearms, shotguns, rifles, pistols, I'm cool. You put me with a Barrett 50, I ain't gonna, it's gonna take me a little while. There's gonna be a learning curve. Canning, still getting my feet under me. But when it comes to warfare, I'm telling you, this is what I know. And I'm telling you, a global war is coming. Okay, folks, y'all need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared for the fact that when the global war comes, the commies are going to try and overthrow it here at home. All right. And that's my prediction. I'm going on record right now and predicting that. 5 things I need to mention before we jump into the chat. Okay. Number 1, countries right now are experiencing rolling blackouts. These are a huge possibility this winter, especially if there's some sort of a conflict, okay, here in the United States. You may or may not see it in your area. You need to be prepared for it just in case. Number 2, and this is a question. I don't like to pitch conspiracies out there, but I was thinking long and hard last night about this. Are we seeing shortages here at home because the United States knows war's coming and they're stockpiling? Think about the ammo shortage last year, for example. The manufacturers are saying we're making it as fast as we can make it. Somebody's hoarding it up. Y'all are hoarding it up. And then you talk to people in the pro-Second Amendment crowd, and they can't find it. They're like, there's no ammo anywhere. This is last year again. Where's it going? I believe the U.S. knows that this is coming. And I believe they've been loading for bear, if you will. And also a lot of the food and the medical shortages that we are seeing right now, the medicines. Number 3, and this is a shout out. I don't know if he's in the chat. I haven't been paying attention. A American. Brother, you put out an awesome video. I think it was last night. I just got the notification this morning. It was a very short video, but look, if he's not in here, basically what he's saying is he didn't lose anything in a boating accident. He's tired of the whole boating accident. He's tired of the excuses. He's saying, I've got guns. He ain't calling them boomsticks. He said, I got guns. I'm not selling them to the government. I'm not giving them to the government. I ain't giving excuses. He's taking a hardline stance. He's saying enough's enough. And we need to see, and again, kudos to you, man. We need to see more of this. It was a wake-up call for me, brother, and I'm going to try and do better here on the channel as well. I really appreciated that video. Number 4, I am sick and tired of this we have no chance attitude in the prepping community. We've all been guilty of it at some point, okay, myself included. But last night, late last night, this morning, whatever, I finally realized we're the United States of freaking America and we ain't going nowhere. I keep hearing, you better learn how to speak Chinese. You better learn how to speak this language. I'm not learning another, I'm not going to learn how to speak Chinese. If they come over here and they try and take this country, the continental United States, we are going to be the teachers and they're going to be learning. They're going to be learning a lot about warfare. You take the Civil War, for example. That was unwinnable for the South. Should have been over in 2 weeks, lasted 4 years. The Taliban should have been unwinnable for them. 20 years later, we're running with our tails tucked. I know that we have a buffoon in chief. I get it. I know that our military commanders are compromised, but I'm not talking about the military or the commander in chief or Senate or the House, any of that stuff. I'm talking about American patriots. We are not going anywhere. We're not going to surrender our Second Amendment. We're going to hold the line, and we do have a chance. So enough with the no chance attitude. It's just ridiculous. Throughout history, when the United States has been faced with war or some sort of conflict, we always deliver. And we've had some great military leaders, yes, but it always comes down to the person that's willing to stand up. Patriots come in all different colors, sizes, backgrounds. We get that, right? But at the end of the day, folks, patriots speak one language, and that's freedom. And I'm not going to learn a different language. It's freedom or nothing. You know what I'm saying? And finally, number 5, we're going to talk about this next week. Be ready to migrate here in the United States. During a time of significant war, oftentimes people will have to move about the country. I know some of you have homesteads, you feel like you're not going anywhere, and kudos to you for that. But if push comes to shove and you have to migrate, we're going to talk about that probably on Monday, the best spots here in the United States to migrate to, okay? So I wanted to mention that as well. This morning has not been meant to scare anybody, but I feel compelled to tell you that a global war is coming, okay? And you need to get your house in order. I pray that people that are still not prepping wake up soon and they start prepping. If you're brand new to prepping, that's totally okay. You still have time, okay? I don't know how much time, but you're doing better than the non-prepper, okay? So you need to be a little, not scared, but you need to understand what's coming. And there needs to be a sense of urgency, but also a sense of patriotism, okay? Because it ain't over. I promise you it's not, okay? Since the year 1095, which I think was the Crusades, there's been a global war every century, and many times, several of them in the same century. We are overdue. We're not getting out of this one, okay? Again, not meant to scare you, but we are getting ready to live through a historical time. And your job as a prepper, I always refer to it as a dark tunnel, okay? Because we're getting ready to head into a dark tunnel. We can't see the other side yet. We don't know what's waiting for us in this dark tunnel. We can be as prepared as possible, and then we go into the tunnel. Your job as a prepper is to get to the other side. Get your family to the other side safely. I promise you there's daylight on the other side of the tunnel, okay? I don't know what the country is going to be called. I don't know what shape it's going to be in, but patriots will still be here. I promise you that. Unfortunately, war is great for nations, especially their GDP. And I think that the people pulling the puppet strings here globally, I think that they're initiating this whole thing. They're trying to reset the economy, if you will, the GDP. During wartime, you can expect heavy rationing. Okay, folks? During World War II, for example, we saw tires, gasoline, coal, firewood, shoes, meat, dairy, coffee, fruits, and oils and shortening. All that stuff was in severe shortage and or rationed, okay? So prepare for that. Try and stockpile that stuff up if you can, all right? And this is on top of the fact that we're already short on a lot of these things because of the supply line. I want you to take this into consideration just for a second. I promise we're getting ready to get into the chat, okay, folks? By the year 2030, I believe, I 100% in my heart believe we're going to have seen a global war, some sort of a revolution here in the United States, and a digital reset. Three-headed monster, if you will. Life is getting ready to change for a lot of people, okay? So just prepare for that. Banks could collapse. Seeing worrying signs right now with a lot of banks being, you know, we talked about it, I think yesterday or the day before, ATMs are out of money. We've noticed sometimes when we go to log in, the websites are down for an hour, 2 hours, no rhyme, no reason. They're not loaning a lot of money out. Banks are hurting, whether they admit it or not. We need to prepare for grid down. Weeks, months, or potentially even longer. And that brings us to the poll. The live crowd here. How long are you prepared to survive in a grid down situation? 44% say months. And realistically, I'm probably not at a year yet myself here. It's probably 10 or 11 months for me if I had to spitball it. 40% say 1 year plus, and 17% of the live crowd say weeks. So weeks, I welcome it. You know, it's a welcome change. I hate technology. Nothing against y'all. I love y'all, but I hate technology. It gets on my nerves. It really does. I know that's weird coming from a guy on YouTube. So weeks, it's like a vacation from technology. Months, it becomes very inconvenient for a lot of people. And a year plus, you're looking at a total lifestyle change. Prophecy 92, thank you, brother. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, exactly. Sleep on the floor a few nights, that's very good advice. Fast for 24 hours. Prep your body for what's coming. Easier to adjust. That is great advice. I know a few people in here have cut their meals and stuff out already, here and there. Thank you again for that. And I mean, a shortage on everything, folks, from gas to the basic stuff like drinking water. All right. So sorry for the rant this morning. I just wanted to get it out up front because it's pretty important. Okay, folks. Now I'm going to jump into the chat. Let's see who is in the house. I see Cogito. Moderators, Mames, thank y'all very much for being here. Nana. My wife got y'all something coming for Christmas yesterday. She jumped in. She spearheaded it. I was actually looking for brass knuckles for y'all. And she's like, no, honey, you can't send brass knuckles. Let me pick it out. So all the moderators, you have something coming for Christmas. Robert Need, 1 or 2 meals a day. Absolutely. I think during a, full-blown SHTF, you're going to be down probably to 2 meals a day anyway. So it's very good to do that. Nothing wrong with learning another language. October, no, it isn't. But the first and foremost language we need to know here is freedom. We cannot lose that. Charlie B throwing the blue rents down. Man, I would send everybody something for Christmas if I had that kind of money. Thank you, Sherry. Jen Boyles is in the house. Julie Atkins, how you doing, ma'am? Let me see here. Yeah, I almost missed the fact we had so many people in here. Good thing I had a tie out here. Paul Jones, thank you, brother. And yeah, absolutely, thank the moderators for their hard work. Glenn Potter and Kelly and Tasha, thank y'all. OFC Nation, how you doing, brother? I know OFC Nation's ready. I know he understands something's coming, and I know he's ready for it. Big T, how you doing? C over Lazy R. House of Prep, how you doing, brother? So let me see here really quickly. Normally I don't ask for thumbs up or subscribes if you're brand new. I try not to ask, but YouTube has, like many other channels in the prepping community, we've been pretty much blacklisted. They hate us. They want us to go away. And I want to stick around. I want to be that itch on their side that they just can't scratch. So the best way to do that is shoot a thumbs up or subscribe if you're new. I want to get into 3 prepping items. And let me just say, for the scenarios and the prepping items, feel free to email me. If you have a scenario that you want me to pitch out there or prepping items, email them, comment, whatever. I'll eventually see them. So number 1 is books and magazines. Not enough people have books and magazines on prepping, on medicine, how to identify certain edibles out in the wild, stuff like that, foraging. Number 2, a thumb drive. You should have a backup copy on a thumb drive. I have one in my drawer of a lot of the basic prepping information. A lot of the books, for the folks that can't afford the books, some of them get costly. You can download a lot of them free of charge, and you put that information on a thumb drive, assuming the grid is up, right? Or you have alternative means. Number 3, zip ties. What would you do with zip ties? The first thing that comes to mind is I'm hanging a tarp up, bugging out or camping or something like that. What would you do with zip ties? I need to zip tie these sleeves up, son. The shirt's a little too big. Mames, if BLM goes off in New York City, it's going to be trouble with their police and fire. Yeah. Kind of watching this whole Kyle thing because I think that that's going to either way spark some kind of chaos in the bigger cities. And a lot of the cities, they can't police themselves right now. They don't have enough officers. Lip ties. Bernard, razor wire, okay. I know some people use them for cuffs and stuff too. Dragon Lady just said handcuffs. I've also seen where people can bust out of them with the right hand movements and swinging the arms down and stuff. Put up animal pins, awesome. Metal wire. Date night, salty soldier. Yeah. I usually do that on Sunday during the day with my wife. But no zip ties are included. Usually she goes willingly, you know what I mean? What wouldn't you do with zip ties? Well, there are a few things. Shorty's in the house. Can work as a belt in a pinch. That is great. Hold my pants up. Muzzle flash. All right. So I want to mention quickly before we get into the scenario this morning, medications are in short supply. I've been seeing it here. I noticed a ton of people in chat talking about it as well. Not just the over-the-counter stuff, but a lot of prescription medicine now seems to be short. Is anybody in the chat seeing any sort of shortages when it comes to medication? Prescription or over-the-counter? Yep. Oklahoma Marquis says yep. I've seen where some doctors are having to prescribe like alternatives and stuff because the medicine's not there. Hallmark Christmas movie marathon? No. I'm going to pass on that one. Hard pass. Insulin, yes. Wow. Nikki, I had no idea. Over-the-counter cold medicine for sure, WM. And I've noticed that here locally in pharmacies and the bigger stores as well. Supplements are more scarce, just Vicky. I did not know that. We have quite a stockpile of supplements here, but my wife, what did she went the other day to get the standard Tylenol. Like they have the extra strength in stock, they have all this other stuff, but it was for my daughter and she couldn't find any of just like plain Jane Tylenol. And we had some here, but I mean we're getting into the point where we're using our preps now, and that's, you know, you want to replace them. Lenny on the Mississippi. Let me see. My son had to go to 4 pharmacies to get the size insulin needles I use. Wow. And I know some people are struggling with not having pharmacies in their area. And they're having to drive now, you know, to get the stuff they need, like you were saying. Muzzle Flash, welcome to the Blue Coats. And thank you for reminding me that I need to do something today for the Blue Coats. Let me see here. Scenario. You are bugging out in unpredictable weather. You don't know what's coming, son. You have a bug out bag and it's jam-packed. And you only have room in the bug out bag for one item. It's like a duplicate item of something that you are already taking. What are you going to take? What's the duplicate item that you're going to take? I'm taking a wool blanket as mine. Just so you know. And I know somebody's going to drop whiskey in here at some point. I'm taking a bottle of whiskey. Same. Ammo, Big German. He ain't playing. Tarp. I considered a tarp Lucifer. But I went with the wool blanket just because, you know, the heating part of it as well. Water filter. Very good. That's Michelle James. Rain gear and socks. Scott Denny. I should have mentioned socks. Daggone it. John, is a draft coming? Somebody just asked here. Nikki B's asking if a draft is coming. I have no idea. I wish I did. I'm old. They probably don't want me. My kids are young enough to where they couldn't be drafted yet. I'm not a huge believer in the draft in the first place. You know, I've said that before. Rope. That's very good, Brenda. Seeds, John Marskin Farm. But yeah, I'm not huge on the draft in the first place. Sassy says duct tape. The draft for me is you're going into an unwinnable situation. You shouldn't be there in the first place. It's different if they're invading the United States or something, but to hold a draft and then send them, you know, like the Taiwan Strait's ridiculous. Tim Weed. I posted a picture for those that haven't seen it in the community section yesterday, smoking a cigar. It was a daggone Dutch Masters. It was a honey cigar, and everybody's like, oh, he's smoking pot. No, I don't smoke pot, y'all. Are you kidding me? I ain't got time for that stuff. Jack Daniels, I knew somebody was going to put some kind of whiskey or something. Oh, we saw it, Justin. Yeah, it's your story. Hey, I'm telling you, it's the truth. I don't need that nonsense. But again, you can send scenarios, email them, or whatever the case may be. I want to get some thoughts this morning on Kyle's trial. Y'all think he's going to get off the charges now that we've had another day of this trial? It's coming to a close. Or do you think they're going to make an example out of him? Or do you think he's guilty? Maybe you think he's outright guilty. You know, all opinions are welcome. He should go free, True American Loretta. And good morning, ma'am. I don't know that they're going to let him go free. Muzzle flash. Large cigars in Australia are over $100 each. I would be quitting. At that point, I'm telling you straight up. He never should have been charged, Kelly. I totally agree with that. I don't know how they even brought charges up against him. Textbook self-defense, homestead self-defense. Let's go, Kyle. Vaughn's in the house, Backcountry Preps. Awesome channel. The man's speaking truth over there. I think he should go free. You know, the judge should have already thrown the case out and just been like, you know, not guilty, but we'll see. Going to be a mistrial. The Wizard. I don't know if I want to see a mistrial or not, because I don't think the evidence is there. I would rather it run its course and him be found not guilty. All right, so there we go. Finally, just the last thing I want to mention before diving back into chat. Tomorrow night, Shotgun Saturday night, it's going to be a special Prepper Clause edition. It was really hard to get Prepper Clause in the house to sign off on this. I literally had to ask myself, hey man, are you willing to dress up like Santa Claus for a few minutes? Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I took a little money out of my left pocket, put it in the right pocket. Prepper Clause is going to be in the house, son. And I'm going to be giving out 25 gift ideas for Christmas for preppers. Then number one are cheap, okay, because I'm cheap. And number two, it's stuff that you can buy online if you choose to do so, but it also should be available locally for purchase. So there you go. And it's just going to be a prepper party. We're just going to be in there. The mood is going to be a lot lighter than this morning. So I just wanted to mention that, folks. Matches. Somebody just, let's see here. Matthew Kitchens, matches. Matches. Velcro, that's a good one. Prepper Clause, woohoo! The second annual Prepper Clause. I'm not going to be sitting in the recliner this year. And as a matter of fact, since y'all wrote it out with me here, that's what she said, for 30 minutes, I'm going to show you the shirt that old Prepper Clause is going to be wearing here. I was going to go with an ugly Christmas sweater, but nah. I already had that shirt laying around, so there you go. The old Griswolds. Keith, that's a very good question. If he's found not guilty, does BLM riot and cause problems? I think so. I think they're sitting around, they're foaming at the mouth, they're waiting on it. They're gonna cause a lot of trouble in larger cities. So understand, if you're in a larger city, it's not necessarily just going to be there, but other larger cities. If you're downtown, you live downtown in a studio apartment or something, and you're a prepper, be ready to shelter in place for several days, okay? And then, you know, if nothing happens, if they say, oh, he got a fair shake, you know, and they're like, free Kyle, if BLM's like free Kyle and the world goes crazy, then you just have extra stuff in your apartment, okay? But if things get really bad, and I think they will in cities at least, now you're prepared and you can shelter in place. We all doing preps for Christmas. Yeah, if you have any prepping ideas that are cheap and that you can pick up locally, feel free to drop them in there as well. I ain't filmed the video yet, so. When are they deciding? I'm not 100% sure, Tasha. I know that the trial is like in the closing stages. I think the defense has already rested its case. The prosecutors, I believe, are bringing a couple more witnesses up, like a rebuttal. But what are they going to possibly do? They brought their big guns out early. There's just not enough evidence, in my opinion. The Copper Goat, how you doing? Skeletor Claws. Somebody been here for a while. Who's that? The Wizard? Yeah, the Wizard remembers old Skeletor. He's in there. My son claims Skeletor. He's up on one of the shelves in my son's room. Alaska Prepper. Good morning, Rudy. How you doing, brother? Great channel on YouTube, by the way. But I know that y'all already know that. The Alaska Prepper. Somebody comes to me with questions on canning. I'm like the Alaska Prepper here on YouTube. Cryptocurrency, the Alaska Prepper here on YouTube. He is an ace on both of those. And he has a really nice bunker. And it brings tears to my eyes, Rudy. I told him the other morning, Rudy, I'm convinced that that little outro you do where you're opening the bunker, you do it just to shame me. I told him I'm sitting here in this little bitty hovel of an office. Oh, man. Good morning, the real G Money. Yeah, that's it, Russell the Muscle. Merry Christmas to you too. What do you folks have that you want to talk about this morning? Anything's on the table here, PG-13, because we do have some kids that tune in, I've been told. My bunker looks great. Yeah, I mean, I'm straddling a file cabinet, Rudy. Come on. Look like I'm sitting on one of those little toy horses out in front of like a Family Dollar or something. Egg count. Bill B. I don't have any chickens. I mean, I could go in there and see how many eggs my wife has. She probably has 10 or 11 in the refrigerator right now. And then we have powdered eggs. Hey. Wrong channel. I think Prepper Nurse 1 does that. I believe Ed does that. I've tried to play the egg game and I never win. Yeah, the toy. Yeah. Let's see here. Jennifer Cruz, the toy horse outside a Kmart. It literally looks like I'm sitting on one of those without the horse head, you know? Like a redneck horse. I like the 10 orange on your chair, John. Thank you, Big T. My wife got this for me. For those that have been here for a while, good morning, Arkansas Living. I used to have a chair that squeaked. That thing was horrible. And she went behind my back and ordered this chair for me. Just to add another penny. Justin M., how old are you? Because the horses, I remember they were $1.50. I don't remember anything being a penny that you put in. Not trying to shame you or anything. Tennessee Vols, Big T, not a fan. The reason I went with orange is I emailed Prepper Now. For those that don't know, Prepper Now, awesome channel. We actually have the same history degree in military strategy and stuff. But anyway, long story short, emailed him. I said, our logos are similar. I'm going to throw some color in mine just to let you know. It was almost purple. I almost went with like a dark, spooky looking purple. And my wife talked me out of it. She's like, nah, go with something like orange. James, what is your view of a peaceful balkanization? At some point, it's not going to be peaceful. At some point, patriots are going to get fed up. And they are not going to lose their country. That's my view. If patriots sit around and watch their freedom be taken away, they don't deserve the freedom in the first place. That's my opinion. Too many people have fought and died for this country and for that freedom, just to allow anyone to come in and take that freedom away. Penny candy. I don't remember that. I am cigarette machines old. That's what I remember as a kid, cigarette machines. People going up and putting money in cigarette machines and pulling a knob or something. Tammy said, straight up. I mean, it's just to the point where You know, I'm sick of living in fear. I told the folks on Patreon over the mandates, I'm sick of having stuff dangled over my head, you know, like a rabbit. You want this carrot, you're going to have to jump for it. I'm done doing that. It's a free country. And, you know, capitalism, it's not going to last forever. It's not a perfect system. But the sentiment of freedom, people wanting to be free, that is going to last. So if the United States collapses as we know it and something else pops up, I promise you all the patriots are not going to be gone. People are still going to want that freedom. Thank you for being here, Russell the Muscle. I don't live in fear. I'm too angry of mice and men. There you go. You don't want to be angry to the point where you got to take medication for it. Calm yourself down a little bit. But yeah. Sunshine Girl, any opinion on where a possible attack on the U.S. would occur? I don't think it's going to be an international player. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, I think global war is coming. And I think that's the opportune time for the communist groups here in the United States to try and overthrow it. There is no better time for them to try that nonsense. I think bigger cities are going to be war zones if that happens. Rural America, I think you would see shortages. You would see an uptick in crime, things like break-ins and maybe some robberies and stuff. But for the most part, rural America is going to stick together because, again, freedom. We have that common thread, you know what I mean? And something that I didn't mention is if you have a lot of chaos taking place in multiple cities, you're going to see a lot of people that aren't necessarily bad people. They were just in a bad situation. You're going to see them pile out and they're going to try and migrate somewhere else. So you could see a lot of that in rural America as well. And I know opinions vary on this. This is just my opinion, folks. If you have the means to help other people, you should help other people. But you don't want to do it in a compromising way. You don't want to put yourself or your family at risk. You don't want to take food out of your own kid's mouth to give it to somebody that hasn't done their bit. You know, they haven't handled business. They haven't prepared. The writing's on the wall. Everybody should be prepping at this point. In my opinion, folks. Aaron says, shoot, they're going to run like rats. Well, they'll pile out. You know, not everybody that's living in a city wants conflict. Most of them, you know, city life is different, and that's okay. It's okay to be different, but they're used to a certain way of life, and they're not necessarily wanting conflict. They're not going to jump in to the streets and start burning stuff down. A lot of the good people are just going to try and leave and go somewhere safe. We see this all the time in wartime. Independent Marine, Tootsie Rolls, 2 for a penny. I got a lot of questions. First of all, for a penny. Second of all, Tootsie Rolls, man. Tootsie Rolls. That is like the worst candy. When we were kids, we would, no kidding, we would trick or treat and people would give us Tootsie Rolls. We'd save them. We would unwrap them and around Christmas time in the winter, we'd freeze them and throw them at each other. Who wants to eat those things, man? I'm surprised the PC crowd hasn't canceled Big League 2. Now, I like Big League 2. I really do. In the pouches, I think they make the gumballs too, but you can open Big League 2 and you can smell it and your mouth starts watering. Jennifer Cruz, you love Tootsie Rolls, really? I knew there was something off about you, lady. How many people like Tootsie Rolls? Am I the only one that dislikes them here? Everybody likes Tootsie Rolls all of a sudden? But Spam also. I can do Spam. I'd rather have Spam than a Tootsie Roll. At least Spam's not going to break your teeth out. You know, Tootsie Rolls are freaking hard. Everybody loves them. Wow. I feel betrayed, y'all. I really do this morning. Wow. Thank you. Uh-oh. Somebody said they're terrible. Thank you. Beefy. This name, Beefy Ronan. Oh, man. Beefy Ronan's got my back. That's all I need. I just needed one person to say they're horrible. I'm with you, John. Jen Boyles. Thank you. Bazooka Joe. I remember that, and I love that, John. It's hard stuff, though. You know what I mean? But I wonder, like the Bazooka Joe, I wonder if, and I really don't know this, could you prep it? Like, how long would that stuff last? Does anybody know? Because that, prepping wise, that would be a morale booster right there, I think. If it'll last a while. I know it's got sugar and it's probably not lasting forever, but I wonder what the shelf life really is on that. It's got to be close to forever. That stuff is hard as a rock. Eternity. That's, hey, I might have to look for some of that stuff. You know, maybe a small pail of it or something. I can. I don't know if I would Mylar it. I don't know if I'd get that serious about it, but I could definitely vacuum seal it. Beard Papa, I see that. I ain't going to repeat it for the crowd that comes later, but I see that, and I'm not going to ask how you know or anything like that. Somebody, Matthews says he has a Tootsie Roll under his fridge from 2004. I hate candy corn too, Marcus. That is probably the one candy that can make me want to eat a Tootsie Roll. Does anybody have any geopolitical or prepping stuff going on they want to talk about here? Fun Dip. I remember Fun Dip, Vaughn. I don't remember how much it was when I was a kid. It was like 25 cents, I think, for the decent sized ones. You used to be able to go in with $1 and you was a shot caller in a convenience store when it came to candy, you know. You get a whole brown bag full of candy for $1. Dollar doesn't buy much anymore. Now you would need like 1 ounce of silver when you went in to get just a bag of candy. People still talking about candy. Ukraine invaded by Russia. It's coming. James Young, it's coming. How can I put this? You don't move 90,000 troops around, and you don't move major divisions of armor and missile systems to a border just to bluff. You know, it's a waste of resources. You want to threaten Ukraine, you want to saber rattle them. Again, you send a few planes over into their airspace, you buzz them a little bit, you mess with them. When you're moving that kind of artillery around and you're supporting 90,000 soldiers and you're feeding them and you got the supply line in place, you're prepping for an invasion. Wax lips, Kentucky Girl in Tennessee. I remember those, like the vampire teeth and all that. And the wax bottles that look like soda bottles. I remember those too. I can see Russia going after Alaska, James. That is possible at some point. I mean, it's strategically located. I think that they could take Alaska, but so much of Alaska is very remote, and the people in Alaska are just freaking tough. They know how to survive out there. So I think even if, in theory, they took Alaska, it would be airports and things like that. I mean, they're not going to expand. They're not going to try and take everybody in Alaska over. So I think you would have a ton of Americans in Alaska just kind of living off grid and stuff. Donna T, Russia wants Ukraine's resources. Absolutely. That's what war's about. They want, and again, they look at Ukraine and they think, you know, this is part of our country because they still have that mindset of the USSR. You know what I mean? And they are comparable in a way to Germany during World War II. So Germany began World War II, obviously, but they began by taking back land that had been taken from them after the First World War. And then they just kept on taking. But for a while, you know, the world set back, the international community set back, and they bought the lie that we're just taking our land back. Russia is going to do something very similar, I think. They're going to start scooping up land that used to be part of the USSR. But they're doing it because they need the resources. Resources are extremely short supply right now. And people will ask, you know, who's behind the chaos here in the United States? Is it China? Is it Russia? I think it's a combination of both. These two right now are like this, you know, common enemies. Double Martin, I agree. It is a matter of time now. It really is. I think they're getting everything in place. And then again, it's impossible to predict when this is going to happen. But strategically, if you have the initiative, you are the only one that knows when you're going to invade, right? So you can outfit your soldiers with winter gear. You can winterize your army basically, and you can go in the middle of winter when all the countries are hurting, or directly after the winter when everybody's trying to get their bearings straight, you know, because it's going to be a tough winter. American Oma, it's all a chess game with the elites. It really is. You know, we have a handful of people or families that are in control, unfortunately, of a lot of things. Most of your media is under the control of just a handful of people. Your oil industries and things like this. Let's invade Canada just to confuse everyone. Oh, man. I don't know. Okay, Ink Scars has questions. I'm looking here. Thank you, Big Red. I'm looking. John, someone asked, what would you buy a non-prepper who's worried about what's coming? Food. You know, I would look... If they're a non-prepper and they've immediately, you know, now if they're worried about it, I would be thinking about the basics first. Food, maybe a way to filter water. You can get you a small Berkey or even make a Berkey if you're good with tools, and give them the Berkey. Some of the bug out bags you can buy are preloaded. The gear is not the best in the bug out bags. Okay, they're not going to be best quality on everything, but they're good starter bags. And then, you know, somebody just said food and warm clothes. Also, you want to think about the winter time. The grid goes down. Immediately, I'm thinking about buddy heater. Here, over at the bug out, we have a smaller wood stove. I'm thinking wool clothing, wool blankets, stuff like that. Honduras 505, Bazooka Joe has a 20-year shelf life. Thank you. Somebody Googled it. We have a backup Berkey. Gray the Beard. That's awesome. I have been trying to convince myself to order more filters this week, actually. I'm going to order them sometime this week. I think I'm going to order the actual Berkey brand. They're about twice the price. There's another company. There are probably several, but there's another company that makes filters that are compatible with Berkey that are very popular. They're about half the price, but I'm not sure what the quality would be. I don't think I'm going to skimp on those. Circus Peanuts, Tiff. My wife's grandfather, he's in a assisted living facility now, but every time we go visit, we take in Circus Peanuts. He likes those and the peach rings. His two favorite of all time. I don't like them, but hey. Mickey, cool your jets, son, Mame says. Uh-oh, you have angered the Mames. Crazed Family Homestead, I'm having a hard time finding the Berkey filters. The black charcoal filters for the Berkey, they're online in pairs. Romans, no Berkey filters in stock. Wow. I'd seen them online. I didn't check the delivery date. I had no idea. I'm not going to order them. We have an extra set here for our Berkey. But I was thinking about ordering like a second set. What do? They do, man, the filters do 3,000. Is it 3,000 gallons of water, guys? But what we do is we'll take a pitcher of the tap water. We'll fill up, the tap water into the pitcher, and then we'll pour it into the Berkey. It takes a couple of hours. Sonia, if you cannot afford a Berkey, what is the next best thing? So the next best thing, and actually we were talking about Alaska Prepper, he did a video on it. You can use 2 5-gallon buckets, and you can actually make your own Berkey system. You still need the filters, and they're $100 plus. So if you can afford to do that, and you're a little good with tools and with your hands, you can make them that way. Outside of that, we also have a Brita. It's a pretty nice countertop Brita system, and I went in and I actually stockpiled those filters at the beginning of the pandemic. The Brita itself was like $40, I think, and then the filters, got them on clearance. People were panic shopping for food, and I'm over here hoarding up the, I hate to use the word hoarding, but that's what I was doing. I went in, they had a case on clearance of the Brita filters that fit that particular model. And man, they were $6 a filter or something. They were half price, so I just bought the entire case of them and went out lawn and garden. I never even had to go to groceries. Bottle caps. My mother-in-law's favorite. Green Thumb Prepper, we are still going. Bunch of marathon men and women in here, son. That's a good point, Frank. If you make a 5-gallon bucket a filter system, make sure it's food grade. Anytime you buy a 5-gallon bucket, look for the food grade. I mean, what are you going to pay an extra $1 or $2 for food grade? Make sure it's food grade. Get in the habit of buying food grade buckets. Sometimes you're not going to need them, like if you're trying to keep pests out of certain things that are prepackaged, but it's better just have the food grade anyway. Flint, McRock, yeah, the Brita filter. These that I have, they're round and they just drop into the top of the Brita. It's not as good as a Berkey, granted, but it's, it's a backup to the Berkey. That's what we have here. And then we have well water over at the bug out. Dusty, it wouldn't matter if there were 13 million in here. I'm still not big time. I'm still just a dude, I appreciate it and everything, but, well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of big time. I got this Goodwill tie on. The next time I go to the Goodwill, I'm going to see if I can find some ridiculous looking ties this time. I always go for food grade buckets, Frank. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to buy them up anyway, pay a few extra dollars. That way you don't have to worry about if something's food grade or not. Candy cigarettes, ink scars. Do they even still sell those? I thought at one time they had tried to pull them or ban them or something. Candy cigars. I graduated, Kent. I went from candy cigars as a kid. Maybe that's what did it to me. To grown-up cigars as a grown-up. I'm not wearing a bow tie, Bernard. I hate bow ties. I just do. There's something about somebody that's wearing a bow tie that just makes you want to punch them. And I'm not trying to be all violent, but I cannot stand the look of a bow tie. Just can't do it. Propane, Jonathan, done. Matter of fact, we'll close with that. But since you brought it up and since they are sitting right beside me, we bought some more yesterday. Coleman, the small propane tanks. Most of y'all know what these are, right? They have went up. They're around $10 a pair now. We bought them yesterday. They used to be $6. And now at $10, they're almost out. They're still flying off the shelf. So get your propane while you can get it. Muzzle flash. John, do you recommend spending decent money on really high quality outdoor clothing? Okay, so it depends on what your plan is. If you plan on bunkering in, You can get by. You can do it. You can go to the Goodwill. You can get wool clothing and stuff like that. But if you're going to bug out or if you camp a lot, I would advise paying extra for good quality stuff. I don't like stuff that has a lot of bells and whistles, like watches and stuff, for example. But when it comes to the basics, like a coat, a pair of boots, stuff like this, pay a little extra. Yeah, if you can afford to do it, okay? Somebody was telling me that last week, Drew. You can refill the small bottles, and I actually did not know that. I knew you could do the ones like for a grill, and then of course the big ones on the outside of a house. I mean, I guess I've never seen anybody take the small ones and refill them, but I've never really seen a shortage like this on propane. All right, folks, I'm going to close it down so I can go get my wig and my Santa hat and everything set up. Oh, what a life. I appreciate everybody being here this morning. Again, if you don't mind, on your way out the door, shoot a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or whatever. I heard they're getting rid of this, but y'all can shame me or troll me with it while they still got it. I don't care. Help us be found here on YouTube. I appreciate it very much. God bless y'all, and I'll talk to you in the live chat tomorrow night.